socials. And I'll do it very slowly, and I'll tap the keyboard very lightly.
Yes. It's for whatever reason you have the loosest dongle known to man.
Well, it's actually, I followed your advice, and I actually got a new one. And this would have been the first time I used it today, but it doesn't have an Ethernet because I never use an Ethernet because,
You bought one without
like,
an Ethernet. I always get one with an Ethernet.
well, I just have never used one. Like, I don't. The setup I have at the moment isn't. I can't, and it's usually fine. So guess I'm not using it. But
Just
if a time comes where that's possible, I'll do it.
How much more would it have been if you? I think it's a little bit more if you get it with an Ethernet, but like it's always just a nice to have, even if you feel like you won't use it 80% of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the old one I had that always comes out, that one has an Ethernet in it.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm now using.
Yeah, but that's just a shit design because it just goes on to the MacBook and it doesn't just have like a wire. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right.
Yeah,
Posted socials. Let me just check.
I think we're live and everything seems to be working all right by the looks of it.
I'll just double check it. Have you got access to notes and everything?
Yes, 159 we're on, yeah.
159. That's the one.
Nice.
Now, don't go wasting my precious time. Okay, let's.
It does feel weird doing the podcast at this time, I have to admit. I was literally like eating food and watching like an episode of Daredevil, and I was like yawning, and I was like, "Fuck, I can't fucking
This
get
is
downstairs."
gonna be a hit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go downstairs to do a podcast. I was talking to Tilly. I was like, maybe we should have done it at 6. But yeah, it was one of those things where we kind of made a good plan to go to the shops and get all the stuff we need for the people coming over tomorrow. And then we can clean the house tomorrow because we've only got like an hour after work before they arrive. So we were literally going to run to the shops tomorrow and clean all in that hour, and now we just have to clean. So
you'll have to do what me and Beth call a mad half hour, which is
yeah.
where you just go fucking insane and clean and try and get it in half an hour.
Yeah, I mean we're not going to go crazy because they're just like it's just like a casual. We're just having a bit of dinner and a ball games,
What?
But like
You're not going to pull up your sofa pillows?
no,
Check.
definitely not. And they're bringing their like puppy over and stuff like that. So it's not, the house doesn't need to be spotless because there's going to be animals running around in it like crazy. So yeah, it'll be fun. But
okay. All right. Well, we're sounding good on my end, so let's jingle in and get going.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, my glasses are a lot more reflective than usual. I'm actually wearing my other pair of glasses. Is this one with the other ones? Hang on a sec.
You got different pairs?
Yeah, I've got 2 pairs. Yeah, look at that. These are way less reflective. Why is that? Are these?
Some of that?
I
don't think there's that much in it.
No, there isn't. Why is it stopped now? What the fuck's going on?
Sure, it's not just reflecting off your shiny forehead.
Yeah, maybe on my greasy forehead. This is a great podcast. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 159 of the Quick Resume podcast. My name is Deck, and joining me is
Tim. I'm Tim.
That's Tim. Okay. We haven't been around for a few weeks, so sorry about that if you've been following or not following, as the case may be. Life's got in the way, and then Monster Hunter Wilds got in the way, which we're not sorry about.
Which is now live.
Which is now live, yeah. So it's been a while, so we've got a couple of things to catch up on. We've got I've put 2 things in the title: Monster Hunter Wilds and Phil Spencer's XboxEra interview. There's probably something we can get in there, but if I'm going to be honest, I reckon 70% of today's episode is probably going to be focusing on Monster Hunter Wilds and then Avowed, because the last time we spoke about Avowed, we had played it for 6 hours each. And you probably have still only played it for 6 hours.
No, I think I've clocked in a few more, but yeah, not crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll probably take a bit of time to talk about that as well. Because there has been other bits of news and bibs and bobs, but as we've said, it's quite late here, so we're going to try and keep today a little bit shorter. But what are some of the other smaller things? Microsoft had an AI announcement, didn't they? Muse.
I thought that happened in Phil Spencer's interview. I thought he was talking about AI and stuff like that, wasn't he?
I don't know. No, I think that was a separate video. I don't think
Oh,
I spoke
okay.
about that with the XboxEra team. So that was a thing. And then there's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4
Mm.
remakes. Got announced day one Game Pass, which is pretty tasty. I think Fable got delayed. Maybe we'll squeeze that in there somewhere.
True. Yeah.
And then there's been PlayStation layoffs. There's been insider leaks about a Gears of War collection launching on Xbox and PlayStation at the same time without multiplayer, Tim, just co-op.
Okay.
So I mean, we'll see where we get, but no promises. I'm just telling you, just being transparent up front. We're going to be talking a lot about Monster Hunter. Probably going to be talking a bit about that, and then we'll probably try and cram in 1 or 2 Xbox related stories. I hope that's okay with the gang.
Cool, me.
All right. Okay, Tim. So I figured what we'll do is we'll get right into it, and we'll just start talking about Monster Hunter. Should we do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, as a bit of an outline, if you're either new to the show or you're following and you haven't picked up on this, we're huge fans, dorks, dorks when it comes to Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
We've played since the PSP days, Monster Hunter Freedom, Freedom Unite,
I guess
to whatever came next.
Freedom 2 is probably when we were like obsessed. So when did
Yes.
Freedom 2 come out? I'm actually curious.
God. Yeah, I don't know.
MH
Could be
Freedom
like 2004, maybe 2005.
2. So that was. Come on, just give me the date. Release 2000. Oh no, EU. Yeah, 2007. So we've been playing this for like. I think you might have DC'd. I think you might have already knocked out your wire, but I'll carry on. So
No, I didn't, but I'm lagging.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So yeah, we've been playing this for what? Yeah, like almost like 20 years. That's kind of crazy. Like, no cap. That's kind of bonkers. We've been playing for like 18 years or something like that. So yeah, while deck hopefully stabilizes. Yeah, super into Monster Hunter, me and Deck. We've been playing it since we were kids. Doing it at the PSP, moving over to 3DS, all that sort of stuff. You probably heard us talk about it on the podcast before. We were absolutely just begging for our entire childhoods for these sort of games to come out into consoles. And obviously they have recently, you know, with World and then following Rise and now Wilds, you know, and I think obviously huge success has followed that, you know. So yeah, massive
I
fans.
suppose I wanted to give a bit of a primer to like just how bad it was. Like at one point in our Xbox bios, we had like 2 long paragraphs begging for Monster Hunter games to come to the West, because at the time, you know, Freedom Unite was on the PSP, but then there was a big gap between a lot of games coming to the West. So there was Monster Hunter Frontier, which was like the MMO, which was really popular over in Asia, and then there was Monster Hunter Portable Third, which was also a PSP game, which was really well received as well. But we never got that over here, and we were really salty about that. And then we got Monster Hunter Try, which was on the Wii. Yeah, and then we got Monster Hunter Try, which was on the Wii. So you know that really is just a showcase of how deep we are. You know, really into deep. So you know, imagine our joy when Monster Hunter Worlds comes out in 2018, and it, you know, it gets like, what was it, 400k concurrent. You know, it's Capcom's biggest success ever at the time.
Yeah,
You know, unbelievable numbers. You know, coming to mainline consoles, and here's us thinking, you know, why was Monster Hunter always a portable series?
Yeah,
like it's just such a not portable friendly, especially on the older games where the fights and the hunts used to be like, you know, the harder ones would be like 40 minutes long.
Yeah,
and
it
your
was a
hand
lot
would be
more
cramping.
hardcore back then. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it just didn't fit onto like the portable, and it's not even like, even if like the game pads were like comfortable, even if portables were just good, it just doesn't really work for portable, because you're just there in an intense fight for like 45 minutes. Like that's just not a portable console game.
yeah.
So, but regardless, we still ate that shit up, and we clocked in like hundreds upon hundreds of hours into every single entry. Like some probably even bordering into the 4 digits time played. I think for some of them, we really played the crap out of them. So yeah.
And there was I'm trying to remember. I felt there's a gap. That there's something I'm missing. What was the first one to come to the 3DS? Those ones were particularly special to me as well because the 3DS was the first console
Um,
I bought with my own money. Was it
was it?
3U?
It was either
3U.
3U or 4U or one of those. Yeah.
I think there was 3U, then 4U, then Generations. That's what's coming to mind.
What was the one that had still the underwater battles, like the Cialis and stuff like that? Because that was 3DS. Because I remember you got the the analog stick that you could plug
Oh
in,
my god,
and I
yeah.
think that was one of the first. I think that was like
I forgot about
three
that.
U. I think.
I think you're right.
I,
3U.
I think that was probably the first entry in the 3DS. Yeah.
Okay. So as you can hear, a lot of very technical knowledge here. We were buying accessories,
Hmm.
trying to make it more comfortable to play the fucking game. And, Monster Hunter Wilds came out last Friday to a concurrent Steam user count of 1.25 million. That puts it at the top 5 most played games on Steam ever, overtaking Prime Cyberpunk and Prime Elden Ring. Like, imagine the joy, the tingling in my balls when I saw those numbers.
Oh yeah.
Thrilled. That is great.
Um, and when you think that PC is also just getting an absolute hammering at the moment, I think it's not in a good state as well. So you'd like to think like a very
Yes.
large amount of players are also playing this on home consoles as well because it just runs better on PlayStation, Xbox. So those numbers are crazy, man. Like it's scary to think the sort of numbers this game has racked up.
Absolutely. And I think part of the conversation we'll have today is, at what cost? 1.2 million concurrents, but at what cost?
Mm.
This is likely to be Capcom's probably biggest game. I like maybe until the next Monster Hunter, if they could even top it with the next one, which I don't know if they would be able to. Like that is such an immense success, and that's really a crown jewel to such a hot streak that Capcom has been on.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out here where to start. I think maybe should we start with the things we like and then maybe move on to things that we dislike.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That works for me.
you pick
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, sure. I I think this is better. I don't know. Yeah, I think this game is better than World. I think this is the spiritual successor to World. I think if you enjoyed World, you're going to enjoy this one more. You know, albeit there's a fair warning with the PC port right now. I think it is not in a good technical state, like pretty awful from what I hear actually. Like so
Which is a shame.
obviously take that with a pinch of salt if you're listening to this and you're on PC. I think you literally need to have like the best specs known to man for this game not to crash on you 100 times a day. So but yeah, I regardless of that and the technical issues which will be patched, I do think this is just an improvement on World in almost every way, in my opinion. I feel like it really just takes what World did, and I think what they wanted to do with World, um, initially, but probably didn't have the scope or the tech for it at the time, and obviously it was probably more of a risk as well because World was just like, this is us fully entering that like home console space, PC space, and everything. They probably didn't want to put all their chips in and just spend absolutely just everything they have on it. So, but I feel like it's really expanded on it feeling like a living world that you're sort of hunting in. I feel like that's really good.
Definitely.
And yeah, I just think it flows really well. I feel like the hunts flow a lot better. You're into the action a lot quicker. There's none of this like you're looking for tracks and scout flies and all that kind of stuff, which was nice in Wild, don't get me wrong. But this one, you're just into the action quicker. You know, you just start the quest, you just mount your sacred, you're there, you're fighting, and that's the best part of the game is the combat. So I feel like they just kind of cut all the nonsense with that and made it very user friendly with all the exploration or all the gathering. It's just so much easier now and you can just focus on just having fun
Yeah,
and just doing the
the
core Monster Hunter.
slinger in particular, I feel like they've done a really good job with just making that
Yeah,
like just a useful thing, like just grabbing stuff
yeah,
from a mile away. That's like top change. Like
It's
that's
just
great.
low
Like just
maintenance,
grab.
yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, there sure there are people just like, oh yeah, but I liked seeing like, oh, I could pluck. I saw that berry tree and then I could go over it and grab it. Like there is an element of that, and you do feel like, you know, if you were to do that, you're kind of, making use of the land and the area around you, and you can feel a lot cooler doing that. But this is just more convenient, and I'm quite happy with that because it just helps you just drill down to what Monster Hunter does best, quicker, which is just the cool fights. The monsters, the weapons, and the combat. And yeah, I feel like that's probably just the first point I want to touch on, is just how fluid everything really
Hmm.
feels with the world, and the weather effects and the maps and stuff like that. I know we said weren't going to talk on any negatives yet, but I do wish you spent a little bit more time in those areas as the game was progressing. I do feel like some of it was quite rushed, um, but you know, because I feel like I could have appreciated the map and the weather effects a lot more if I was in that area a bit longer.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I'm appreciating them now. But yeah, I mean, what do you think on that sort of aspect of everything?
Yeah, I think they did a really good job of like um blending the arcadey style of Rise with the more grounded um parts of World. Like it's a nice in between, between Worlds and Rise. If people haven't played Rise, it's also another great entry in the series, but it's very arcadey. It's one of the more arcadey entries, probably
Yeah,
since Generations.
yeah,
Where it's like it's very easy, it's very just like get you to the fight, do flashy moves, get your items, get back out, do it again.
yeah,
Um uh so it's a nice in between there. And I'm with you, like I think they did a great, like the expedition. So that is when you're like in the map and you're just like in the open world zone and you're just chaining together hunts after hunts after hunts, are like where the game, I can see the game has its biggest opportunity, because it's in those moments where so many like emergent things happen, which
yeah.
still happen in a quest. But when you're in an expedition, so you're just in one of those open zones for a longer period of time, it's more likely that a lot of those emergent things are just gonna occur. Case in
Hmm.
point, I've got this clip of a, like, I think it was, what were we fighting? I can't even remember what we were fighting, but nonetheless, four Rathian and Rathaloses turned up in that same area and all
It,
just started fighting each other.
we were
And that's
fighting a
just the sort.
Rathian. That's what we were fighting, and then like just another one
Yeah,
showed up, and then two Rathaloses showed up, and it was just
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I wish we could share the clip. It was just hilarious. It's just so
yeah,
funny.
absolutely. And then you get other things like we were fighting the, I think we were with one of our other friends the other day, and we are fighting a Balahara. And as we were fighting it, a herd, in the desert place, a herd of the curved back guys that are just in the main area, and the spiky back boys
Oh yeah,
just started
yeah.
running towards us, like 20 of them, and we were like, whoa,
Mm,
like what are they doing? And they were like cutting through the fight, and going around us,
yeah.
which just meant, and then we could see off in the distance that there was a raid out like further down there, so they were fleeing. Like in previous games,
Uh,
animals, small monsters like that would flee, but then they would just get to the edge of a zone and then they would just
phase
disappear, and
out.
then you'd
Yeah.
never see them again. Whereas with this, it really does, you can feel a lot of effort has gone into making it
Mm,
all flow. And there's ecology and the endemic life and all of that. It's all there and it all feels really great. I think there's some more to talk about this on the stuff that I think is to improve on, but I can see the
mm,
bones for the system are in place. And it's really nice. I,
yeah.
I will also say that I think Wilds is probably peak Monster Hunter like combat. I think
Yes. Yeah.
I think this is the best the series has ever been. I for those that don't know, usually there's mainline Monster Hunter games, which are like the grounded, grittier ones, and then in between, usually on a Nintendo platform, although recently ported off Nintendo platforms with Rise, which came to PlayStation and Xbox a year or two later.
Yeah.
Those ones are usually more arcadey, easygoing,
Experimental.
um, experimental, right? And you can see them trying mechanics there to see if they'll bring them into the mainline ones.
Hmm.
So I've always preferred the mainline ones, the more grounded ones. I think they're all great, but I've always preferred the mainline ones. And I think this is like really, it's a perfect balance of it feeling grounded and gritty. Um, and reactive, but also every weapon now has like just a little bit of flashiness to give you that kind of wow factor,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
I think is great. And I think the wound system is just the perfect evolution of what they were going for in, I think it was in Rise, but also in World, which was like the tenderizer system where you could like tenderize
Yeah,
points on the body.
yeah,
So I think that's great, and and it works even better because it is a system which facilitates cooperative play. Like if you're all attacking the same point, you're going to see a wound pop up in that area. Like it's going to directly feed back to you. Yep, you're doing it. You're hitting that point. Other
mhm.
than that area breaking, you're going to see that, and then you can time your wound hits together or this, that, and the other. So I think that's great. I'm really happy with how the combat turned out because I was a bit worried it would be a bit samey. And I suppose I can't speak for every weapon, but the bow is what I'm using, and the bow is like quite different from Wilds. I don't think most of the weapons are as different as what the bow is, but nonetheless,
Mm.
um, it seems good from where I'm sitting. And also, the weapon and armor designs, I think we're probably
Oh,
looking at peak Monster Hunter
so
as well,
much
like some of the
better.
best in the series. And one of the
Yeah,
criticisms that we both had of World, I think that most of the community did, is that they really didn't. There weren't that many weapon designs. They
no.
reused a lot of the same weapon designs, and none of them were like particularly flashy, maybe other than one or two. And this got better in Iceborne.
Mhm.
Um, and same with armor sets. Armor sets were cool in World, but they never seemed to be going that one step further that Monster Hunter has. Here they've done that. Each weapon tree looks very different from the other. Like I suppose to illustrate what I'm trying to say, in Wild, each weapon has a different model. Each weapon from each different monster has a different model. Whereas in World, um, some of them were just the same model but recolored. So like
Yeah, it's like a
Arathian and
different
Arathalos
pelt on
were the
it.
same but
Yeah,
red and green. And then maybe I'm struggling to think of another example, but another one would just be an orange version of that, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, Armor, they've gone like all out in terms of armor. You can transmog with anything you buy, which is just fucking awesome because
Really good. Yeah.
the armor design is so cool. The armor and skill system is still there, which is great. I love and set bonuses, which because I love that in Worlds as well. And also they added alpha and beta armor. Um, so no, that's not right. So it is. So there's two other things. The first being that there's armor is unisex. So no matter you can just either wear parts of the male armor, parts of the female armor, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just pick the parts which you think look cool.
Mhm.
Which essentially gives you more bits of armor to choose from, just depending on what you like. I think a lot of the women's um armor have really cool like blazers, for example, whereas the men's
Mhm.
tend to have like long trench coat sort of things or big bulky armors. So the
Mhm.
fact that you can just swap and choose that, I think is really cool. And also they've got alpha armors and beta armors, where alpha is kind of like the standard set, and beta is has a couple less skills, but a couple more gem slots. I.e., this is the set you want to get at end game when you're min maxing and you want to get your
Yeah.
decorations in and really customize your build. All of that I think is like peak series. All of the animation work on the monsters is amazing. Turf
Mhm.
Wars is just so peak Monster Hunter. It's so good. It's like exactly the sort of thing that you like want to see as a Monster Hunter fan. So I'm so thrilled to see like that sort of stuff returning. And there's some nice quality of life um, here and there as well. I'm trying to think if there's any standout things that I really love.
Well, quality of life wise. Um.
No, just in general.
Oh,
Um,
monster design. I'd say is very good in this game. Just in general, I feel like they've got
I agree.
a really good
Lots of
mix.
variety.
Yeah, yeah. They've got a really good mix of your wyverns, your brute wyverns, your um. I mean, they've even got
Spiders.
like new ones. What are the cephalopods? So like the octopus guys, and you got
Octopus, yeah.
spiders. Yeah, all sorts. Which is like World was good, but it was 90% um like flying wyverns.
Yeah.
Which is fine because some of them were fantastic designs, and I mean, hell, World has some of my favorite monster designs ever, with like the Namiel and the Velcana and stuff like that. I thought they were so cool.
Oh, no
So
Giganta.
not
Mhm.
not dissing it at all. Yeah, and no Gigante, yeah, like incredible. But I feel like this has a really good mix of. I feel like every half an hour you're fighting something vastly different to what you fought before. Like I'm fighting a
Yeah.
Kongolala and then I'm fighting an octopus that's on fire and grabbing me and throwing me around. Like it's just
Yeah.
very different. which was nice to go through in the story mode as well, to just have like that variety in just switching out monsters. You kind of had no idea what was coming next. So yeah,
I
I
also
think that
think
was pretty good.
I also think it's like another benefit of having so much monster variety. Well, two benefits. Firstly, is that like it allows for more adventurous weapon designs and armor designs, right?
Hmm.
But it also like a lot of different like having different types of monsters in the game allows for different like tones in each fight. Like for
Hmm.
example, the Congalana is fucking funny. That's a fucking
Yeah,
funny, stupid monster. It flings shit at you. It picks up mushrooms and lobs mushrooms at you. Do you know what I mean? That is a funny monster. Like there's no fear there. It's not the same tone as when you're fighting like the Jinder had in this game, um, or the Arkveld, right? Those are different. They are
hmm,
serious. They are mean, and they are scary. But the Congalar isn't. So I like and even think looking at something like or the octopus archetypes, like the Zuwu, mental. There's a
yeah,
mental monster. It's got knives for hands. It like jabs you across the map. It like it evokes something different. So I think that is one of the real
yeah.
benefits of having a wider variety.
Mm.
Which I agree. I think is great. And yeah, and the fact that we got a new skeleton, with the octopus monsters is wicked.
Yeah,
New to
yeah,
the
for
series.
sure. Yeah. And it just makes it so interesting to what's going to come as well, because this game has so many different skeletons in it. That like, I mean, the sky's the limit. Like, I really think the expansion could add so many returning monsters and so many new ones.
Yeah.
Like I really think they can just kind of just pick and choose whatever they want, which is really, really exciting. Um, so and with spoilers, no like elder dragons or anything in the game yet. It'd be really interesting to see what they cherry pick there to choose from.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think I pretty much agree with everything you're saying so far. I think most of this game is just kind of peak, from like a moment to moment standpoint, like fighting the monster. Like the reward system as well, I guess, is something we should talk about. Like the loot, I feel like the loot is, at one point I did question it and I was like, is it giving me too much? But then at the same time, I think it's actually quite nice that it's giving more than other games. I will say the loot system is more generous, and I think that's actually a good thing. Because
The thing
yeah,
is, they can always dial that up in the
yeah,
end game. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Rather than dial it
exactly.
down. So,
Yeah, and I think exactly. If they feel like people are just, they've got way too many materials, come the expansion and come master rank or whatever like that, then they can just be like, okay, with the master rank sets, it's just going to take 5 rubies to make or something like that. They can always increase that. So, but I feel like it's a good way to get people in through the door, and keep playing as well past the story. Um, because I thought the story was decent. Again, probably something we should touch on with the story as well. Um, but yeah, because obviously in this game you got your open world, open zone, sorry, and then you got all your monsters running around in it, and basically every monster has its guaranteed rewards at the end of a quest, and your 3 calves when you kill it or capture it or whatever. But you can see them as you hover over the map. They've got like additional rewards on them, so they might have like additional materials or like a guaranteed rare item, like a Rathalos ruby or something like that. And then you can be like, oh, let's go for that because it's like a rare spawn. It's got like a
yeah.
guaranteed ruby, or you can save it for later. I think it has that exciting factor to it, because I feel like if they didn't have that, it would just be like, oh, it's just another Rathalos has entered the area, But it's not. It's like, oh, another Rathalos has entered the area. Let's see what it's like. Let's see if it gives better rewards. So, and I'm interested to see how that works for the end game as well with tempered monsters, because you get like these weapon parts which you can turn into weapons. I haven't played too much with that yet, so I can't really speak too much on that. We have hit
Mm.
the end game, but we're not knee deep in it. But yeah, I think the reward system is pretty good. I think it's an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. The only part I can't really comment on is the actual end game stuff, which is the
Yeah.
Artian weapons. Because I haven't really tried using that. I've messed around with that a bit, but I haven't actually made a new weapon. I saw a design on my Twitter feed that came up of one of the what was it, an insect glaive, and it was like moving. It looks really
Oh,
cool. So I don't know if they all look different or if they all look the same. I don't know, and I
mm,
also don't know like how that is going to feel. Um, like just making weapons that just outclass the
the
stuff that
the
I've already
monsters, yeah,
got, yeah, or if they're just meant to be like alternatives. Like I don't know, and that's the thing I don't know. I don't really have enough information because when they did it in World, they only let that happen for events, and that generally felt pretty good because it really encouraged you to play a lot of that event to get a weapon which, oh, it's going to have 20 more damage than the top tree of this, which is good on one hand, but on the other hand, it means that the only weapon I ever now use is that, you know, um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
unless I'm swapping for elements or whatever. So that part remains to be seen. I like how they've divided up the decorations. I think that was really clever. How they've made like basically all the defensive and utility decorations
yeah,
go in your armor, and all the offensive and damage related decorations go in your weapon. I think that was really
yeah,
clever because what that essentially means is that it gives value to weapons which have decoration slots.
yeah,
Whereas before, like you'd kind of be like, I'm just going to pick the one with the biggest numby and then put all my attack gems in my armor. Whereas
yeah,
now, actually, you've got to think about, oh, I've got slots for utility in my armor. How can I use utility? And do I want to trade out my higher damage weapon for a lower damage weapon with more decoration slots? I think that's really clever. I think that was a really good change.
hmm,
And because also, one of the things happened in World is that the meta became really stagnant. And I think this was part of the problem. It was just attack gems, which were really rare, so that kind of offset it a little bit. But it's
mm,
just attack gems, and it was just critical. It was just affinity, which I'm sure is something similar is going to crop up, but it's limited this time around because it can only go in your um, weapon slots. So I
yeah,
think that's clever. I'm just estimating how I think
yeah.
that's going to play out, but I think that's going to be a really positive change.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. And it also plays into the fact that you carefully picking your armor as well based on the skills that that armor provides, like baked in, rather than just being like, yeah, I'll just get the armor and it doesn't matter because I'll just gem in 5 attack gems. It's just like, okay, no, I need 2 Rathalos because that gives me 3 attack baked in, and then I can put the attack gem into my weapon and then get 5. I can only achieve 5 attack up with the Rathalos set, you know. It sort of improves on that factor as well. And I love that they brought back, they've done a lot more with set bonuses as well. So set bonuses are back, and then they've also got quite cool ones as well, which are like what are they called? Something, it's like another bonus. It's called like something bonus set. But it's not set specific. It's
Oh,
like,
the squad bonus, team bonus, something like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah, so it carries over onto different armor sets. Which I like. I think that's pretty cool. It's basically like, yeah, like a set bonus that's probably not quite as good and quite unique to like the monster, and it's, you know, how it looks and stuff like that. But it's just like a nice additional thing to just weigh up there.
Definitely.
I've always been a really big fan of like set bonuses, like, oh, I have three of the Gore Magala, so I can get that like
Yep.
effect and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. In any game I played, I loved like the, what was it in Diablo where they had the green items which were like set
Yeah. Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
I love
Hmm.
that, and I don't think they brought that back ever
I agree.
since. And I really enjoyed that.
No.
But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I think all that's really good, and yeah, I agree with the gem system. I think that's going to help just with just that little bit of extra longevity to the game. Um, yeah, so yeah, I think that's all very good. Um,
Awesome.
I'm just trying to
Yeah, I think
think.
the only other thing that's coming to mind is that as we've kind of moved past the story, which I thought was okay. I'm sure we'll have some negative things to say as
Mm,
well. Um, I do generally quite like the interactivity with the NPCs in the game. Like a lot of them have extra dialogue options, and you're. I think this is maybe I'm wrong. I think this is the first time the protagonist is voiced, which
I
I
think
thought
so.
to begin
Yeah,
with I kind of hated, but then actually it really grew on me, especially as kind of the game's going on and you get these kind of quests popping up. I kind of like it. It kind of gives your hunter a bit of a voice and a bit of a presence that they just didn't have before. Um, and and I like that you can ask these extra questions in the dialogue. And I know I don't usually do it, but like I was playing solo
Mm,
the other day, and somebody said something that like piqued my interest. It was to do with some part of the lore that I can't remember, and I was like, "Ah, that's cool." I wasn't reading that off like a 64-page wiki
mm.
entry. It was just like in the game, and I can do that if I want to, but I don't have to. So I quite like that. There's been an emphasis on writing here, in that regard in terms of the optional stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I think it's quite good that you can also kind of pick up your side quests from people as well. Kind of helps it kind of makes you feel like you're doing it for like a to help the community a little bit more rather than just grabbing the optional
Yeah,
quests off a random board in the village. You kind of you talk to someone and they're like, "Oh yeah, my village is under threat by this Gypsaros." Yeah, and then you go and do it, and he thanks you, and it's not much, but it just helps it just helps the world, like I said, just feel a little bit more living, a little bit.
yeah,
It's not great, and they're very light RPG systems. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's just something that yeah you don't really see in Monster Hunter, so it's just like a little
yeah.
different flavor to it, I guess. So yeah, that's nice.
I guess the final thing I'm thinking is just like I suppose one of the joys of going through a new Monster Hunter game is that you go through it and you fight, new or existing monsters, and you kind of get to go, whoa, when you're in the flow of it for the first time and you're seeing these moves happening and you're adapting on the fly. There's a joy to doing that for the first time. As much as there is a joy from like doing it a lot and mastering it and everything, but like the first impression of like these different monsters, I think is really a key thing to what makes this series so special.
Mm,
And in every entry, there's always been at least one fight where I've come away like that was great. I loved that.
mm-hmm.
I can't actually remember what it would have been for Rise, so maybe that says something about some of the.
For Rise,
Yeah, I
uh,
can't even remember. I can't even remember what the flagship was for Rise.
I remember the Sunbreak one, but I don't remember
Yeah,
the
I remember the vampire guy with the like red. He was like,
yeah, which was really
yeah, he
cool.
he was
He was
sick.
he was epic. But I don't.
He was
Yeah, you're
sick.
right. I don't remember the base one. Oh no, it was the that weird like it kind of had like Nergigante vibes, but it was like a brute. But it just had like bone shoulders, and it was just like really dense.
Oh yeah, I
I
remember him.
forgot what it was called. Um,
Magna Mallow.
Magna Mallow, that was it, and it had like blast, I think, or like its own like element or something like that. But
Yes, you're right.
um,
Um,
yeah,
so there usually is one that I find really memorable, and there were loads in Worlds. Nergigante is one of my top five, I think, because especially I remember the theme for that monster just being so good.
yeah,
Um, and it was like even the lore behind it was so cool. It was an elder dragon eating monster, like
just,
nuts. I loved
I think
everything
it
about that
just it
monster. I thought it
ate
was
other elder dragons specifically. I think, yeah,
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, other elder dragons, and then they added loads. Volcana was really sick as another elder dragon, and Namiel they added later was another sick elder dragon,
yeah.
and even like crazy ones. What was the little bat thing we were talking about?
Oh, the
That's in
Paolumu,
Worlds. Alimu, yeah, like
yeah, I loved
stands out
him.
in my head as a good one.
Yeah, it's great.
In this game, there's also been a few of them. I'm happy to report. I think they did the end of game fight was really good.
Oh,
Was it the
yeah, that's cool.
Zoshia? He was
Hmm.
wicked. Um the in particular the Jinder had is one that's gonna stand out for me. This head
Yeah,
like
yeah,
its theme again was really sick. It's like organs, and it's like it just looks like metal and bone, and it's huge, and it's a Leviathan. We didn't have any Leviathans in World, and it's really dynamic. It like climbs up the wall. It has this like not one hit kill attack, but this, it has like a zone wiping attack, and you have to
yeah,
pull stuff out the sky. So just a very cool and exciting fight, along with a very cool monster.
yeah.
Um, the octopuses as well, both of them, the Zoo Woo and the I can't remember what the flamey octopus was called, but they're great. So
Yeah.
they're ones that I know 5 years from now I'm gonna look back on this game and think, oh, I remember those monsters. Um, not accounting for expansion or whatever. So that's great. I'm happy to report that there are very memorable monsters in this game as well. Do you have a favorite, Tim?
Um, hmm. Yeah, I do. I quite like the
Raid out, right?
Zulu. The Zulu's
Mm.
cool. What was the one you said? Sorry, I talked.
Raid out. You love
Yeah,
the
the
raid
Raid
out, don't you?
Owl is definitely up there for me.
It's
Mainly again just from like the just like the audio in that fight, like the music and just the
mm,
sounds it makes. I just really, I don't know. I just thought it just sounded really really fucking cool. And
definitely.
then what else? There is another one I really like, but I'm struggling to think of it. Oh no, I really like the fire monkey, the Jaracon, I
Oh,
think it's called.
yeah, Hajarakan. I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's
that
cool as well.
that's
I agree.
I just really like him. I just thought he was really cool. It's just I had
He is
no
cool.
idea. Obviously, I stay quite spoiler free for this game, so I had no idea that was in the game, and it was just like a nice
Mm,
surprise. I thought it was
yeah.
quite cool. Just super aggressive, angry, rage-ang like monkey. Cool move set. He just fucking just like shoulder barges into the ground, and he sparks the floor with his like rock back to
Yeah,
create like
and he
sparks and stuff
smacks
like
his
that.
back with his tail as like a
Yeah, when he gets
intimidation thing, doesn't he? He's
angry.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's real fun.
I just thought he was cool. Yeah, I just quite like him.
I agree. I agree. So, I mean, I think I'm happy to switch over there. Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we kind of move into mixed or negative stuff?
Uh no, I think we've covered everything that we love about the game. Yeah, so far.
Okay. So all of this obviously comes with a new with the wrinkle, as I said before. Like we love every single Monster Hunter. So any of the negatives I give here, um, don't really matter in the long scheme of things. I think Monster Hunter games are always excellent. Having said that, there is a bit to get into here in terms of the stuff that I don't like, the stuff that I think is a step down from previous games. So I will start with my bombastic opening by saying that I think Launch Wild is not as good as Launch Worlds.
Mm.
Um, and I think that for a few reasons. So you are right. There are less monsters in Wilds than there are in Worlds by two. It's not a big deal. There's more variety here, so it kind of makes up for it. However, what that does mean is that we're missing some things which otherwise are like a staple for the series. Which so I was a bit disappointed when I got to the end of the roster. That I was like, we don't have one of these. The
Yeah.
first being an Elder Dragon,
Yes.
and I know that's kind of like that's mostly just like a thematic thing.
You gotta have an Elder
Like
Dragon.
there's
You just
no
gotta, man.
there's no real gameplay altering thing about that, but it's like it's the next power level. It's the thing
Yeah.
that's like, holy shit, this is hard, this is scary. And I think Elder Dragon fights tend to come with their own like big bombastic theme and effect on the environment. Like they're usually very visually impressive Elder Dragons. And we don't have a single one in this game, which is really
Hmm.
disappointing to find out about. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because they are planning to do some very cool stuff with how the ecology and the environments work, because they really could. Like they
Yeah. Like
really
a
could. Like imagine the
Kushla
Kushla Daora,
in the
yeah,
desert
in the
with
desert.
like the raid
We all
out.
thought it.
Yeah. Like tornadoes versus lightning. Like, dude, that shit could be absolutely fire. Yeah.
Right. So I can see that. I can see that case. And I hope that is the case when they get round to it. And hopefully they trickle. We aren't waiting until the expansion to see that. Hopefully they trickle them out. Um, the other thing is there's no invasion monster. And I can't think of the last time that there wasn't an
Mm.
invasion monster in a Monster Hunter game. And what I mean by invasion monster is usually there is a boy designed to just be a dick who is very aggressive, very hostile, stalks you if they happen to be in the map that you're in, stalks you around, and generally just makes your life a misery unless you're constantly flinging shit at them, or you decide to slay them to free yourself up
Hmm.
a bit of space. And it's a shame because the template and the format of Wilds would have been so perfect for that, with like
Yeah.
all of the different monsters, whereas it wasn't quite as dynamic as it has been now in previous games. In previous games, the ones that come to mind are what's Pickle Boy called?
Devil
His name for
Joe.
some reason. Devil Joe, thank you, and more recently Basil Goose, who was like a flying, like such a
Oh
creative
yeah, I forgot
monster,
about that guy. Yeah.
so creative. And like he wasn't in Rise day one, but he did get added afterwards. I'm not sure if Devil Joe was in base, and I'm sure there are other invasion monsters that I'm forgetting, but they always seem like a staple to me, especially in older Monster Hunter games. Like they would always send you out on some bullshit quest to get an egg and carry it back
Yeah.
without it cracking, and then all of a sudden there'd be like a Devil Joe at your tail, and it was really stressful, and it was horseshit. So I'm glad they haven't brought that back, but nonetheless, it's kind of just this idea that there's something constantly chasing after you, and so you need to be moving, you
Mhm.
need to do something, and so that's a shame. And I think that part of that comes from there being quite a low monster count in the game. I don't know
Mhm.
if you have anything to say about that.
Well, yeah, no, no, I completely agree. I mean, I was also thinking maybe they just did that for like new players as well, just because they knew this would be the biggest outreach Monster Hunter possible, and they didn't want people getting pissed off that this massive monster wouldn't leave them alone, and they didn't know how to get rid of it with dung bombs or whatever. And it's more powerful than like their current level, so it just kind of one shots them. Like it wouldn't surprise me because, like you said, the template does fit it so well that this thing is just constantly roaming the map and just being essentially a walking apex predator. Um, like constantly. It does. I have a feeling they probably thought about it, and then they were just like, this could just be annoying for like a lot of people that aren't like veterans. Because as much as I hate to admit it, as much as I love World, love Rise, love Wilds, they are moving away from what a lot of core Monster Hunter was to appeal to the wider audience. And I think that is probably a factor into why you haven't got like, yeah, like your roaming monsters to make life a bit more difficult. Like we'd appreciate something like that, but imagine our friend that begins with a J. Imagine if that happened, and he would probably just not stop playing the game eventually, wouldn't he?
Maybe, and I guess that is kind of one of the cruxes of my, what I'm saying when I say I think Worlds Day One is a better game than Wilds Day One. I do think they've gone one or two notches too far in making this accessible.
Yeah, I
I mean, it's
agree.
worked. It's worked. It got people in. I don't know how that will work out in the long run. I don't know if veterans are
Mm,
going to drop the game quicker. Your core audience. I can definitely feel that. I can definitely feel that. And this before we even get to the conversation around difficulty and everything. There are just some features removed here that are a bit disappointing to not see. And here's the other thing, a bit weird one. I think Wilds kind of doesn't look great at times. Am
mm.
I mad? I kind of feel like Worlds look better at times. I don't know. Like maybe
It
it's just like an optimization thing. I don't know. There are
at
sometimes where I'm like
times,
talking with
yeah,
NPCs and I can see the textures on them and they look like they're just not loaded in.
yeah.
And it's not even that. Sometimes the environments just aren't like popping. Like it looks kind of a bit muddy. A lot of the
Mm.
maps look like not colorful, like in the way that I remember some of the world's maps as being like very colorful.
Yeah, oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they kind of just look a bit grey. Like I don't know. Do you know? Am I mad?
Um, no, I would agree, but I do think there's just a lot more going on here in Wilds. World was much more of a self-contained map that you load into. There was maybe two monsters on a quest, one to sort of invade and just be there while you hunted your main target. So I think they had the ability to sort of, I don't know, put a bit more detail into the maps and stuff like that. Where this, I think they're going for scale and expanse rather than like actual graphical like fidelity to like and stuff like that the world had. You got to bear in mind there's a lot going on when you think about it. I mean, when I'm looking in like my bottom right, the amount of notifications I'm getting that a monster's having a turf war, and I'm fucking miles away, bro. I'm on the other side of the map, but I know that these two monsters
Mm.
are having a turf war somewhere on the other side
Yeah,
of the map. Like everything,
yeah.
there's a lot going on
It's very cool that it's
constantly.
it's all like simulated in real time. That is
Yeah,
very cool, and it's a
and I
big
think that
sell.
is why I think there's a bit of a dip there. Yeah, I just think maybe they just wanted to go for that a little bit more than graphical fidelity. But then it doesn't
Yeah.
always come down to graphics as well, because I do feel like you can make a game look pretty just from the artistic. like style and choice and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, and I think, yeah, World did that so well. Like Coral Highlands is just, oh, dude, that's still like
Yeah, it's an
incredible.
S tier area. It's a
It's
peak map design.
probably my favorite map ever in the entire franchise. Like, I can't think of anything better than that.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Um, and so like, yeah, I totally hear your point. I think that's totally fair. But I do find myself at times a bit disappointed that I'm looking at the environment and it's like the water isn't popping, the trees don't look like lush and green. And I'm running at the
Mm.
40 FPS mode, so I've even got the resolution a bit higher, and it's just the color looks a bit drained. It's hard to put my finger on it exactly, but it's by no means a bad looking game, but it doesn't feel like it looks any better than Worlds, which was 7 years ago.
Mm.
And at times I do generally feel like it looks a little bit worse. Might just be nostalgia brain. I don't know.
Yeah.
And coming on to your point as well, I also don't think any of the maps in Wilds reach the heights of the maps in Worlds. I don't think there's a Coral Highlands tier map. I also don't think
Nope.
like we even had the even the snowy map in Worlds. I remember quite fondly for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of the Volcana fight. I don't think any of them
It
are that
was
good. They're all
cool.
okay. They're all okay. It's just that there's like a bit of a grayness to all of the maps. I don't know. And
Mm.
even if like with the weather effects and stuff changing, they're like that's cool and all, but like none of them like jumped off the screen to me. I would say probably the most creative is probably the oil place. Like there's very like weird structures everywhere. It feels quite alien, and it swaps between being like kind of
Mm.
cold and hot. And there are standout bits. Don't get me wrong. Like there are some. I don't know if you've been in it, Tim, but there are some bits where you can like dive underwater and you're just on rails and you can use your
Yes.
capture net, and whatever.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
very pretty. Um, and the way you fight the Ray Dow, like insanely pretty. Like it's great. Like there are some standout bits for sure. In the Wyvern, what's it called? The Wyvernaria place.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
Can't
what
remember.
you're
You know what I'm
talking.
talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
There are some secret routes up there which are like super cool, where it's just like floating rocks. I like some parts of that for sure, but these are all like A minus or B tier Monster Hunter maps. They ain't no S plus Coral Highlands
No,
maps.
or even like, I mean, you talked about like the oil well basin and stuff like that. I still just kind of view that map as kind of like a worse
A
version of the
volcano.
Rotten Vale.
I've Rotten
Like
Vale.
the Rotten
Yeah,
Vale was just
great
so
example.
cool. It was just such just
Yeah,
like a stinky, gross
disgusting.
area.
Mhm.
Every single
Yeah,
like thing you walked in was like a gross pile of bones and squelch, and
yeah,
everything had a stink. And then like the whole map was like a Dire Morales like skeleton like going through it and stuff like that. And it's
yeah.
just like that shit's kind of cool, man. And I kind of wish like I do get what Wilds is doing here with just a lot more going on in the map, and I do hope that maybe they add like another area with like the big expansion and stuff like that, and I do hope they're a little bit more like detailed with it, because I feel like World the story the maps kind of had like a story to them, like a little bit, um and I just love that personally. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think um the map is a little bit just they're good, but like and when the cool shit happens you're like, wow, this is incredible, but then that's only one moment out of like it's only like 10% of the time. The other 90% of the time you're kind of just running around a big open sand dune desert and there's not really anything to look at. But then that 10%, yeah, you're fighting a ray down a lightning storm and it's fucking fantastic. So there's like a massive
Mhm.
trade-off. But I think they're good for sure. But
Yeah, they're good. They're just not great.
yeah, 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 that's the best way
And
of
then,
putting it.
I think some of the maps as well. I think they added verticality, which is very cool. But at times, I just think like you just added verticality here for the sake of it. This didn't need to be an up and down map. Like it's cool,
Yeah.
it's novel. Like again, the Wyvern area place has the what do they call it? The dragon torch or whatever, like spiraling up the center of the map. Like that's cool, And there's like
Yeah.
a spiral staircase going down, which is like broken at times. So you have to find different ways around it. Like that's cool.
Mm.
Like I don't know why the forest has to have like 20,000 miles worth of vines going up. I don't know why um the the snowy place has to go so far up again, like, because it just makes it a little bit confusing. I don't know. I just don't
Mhm.
think that needed to be the design objective for all of these maps to make them more vertical. I think that could have been a map's identity, and then they could have done something else with the others. I think there is a bit of there's a bit of an overlap going on with a lot of these maps. Again, and I'm not just talking about the color saturation, which I really do feel like is a problem here. But I just feel like from a design point of view, this like, oh, this has got to have like 4 layers, and it's like I don't think like you could have just
Why?
had a like, make a wide flat map, and that could have been its identity. Um, so yeah, like you said, they're good. None of these are bad. It's just none of them are popping in the same way that I think that we had in Worlds. And but Worlds was very good. Like Worlds was a standout among the series.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
think of other games, and there aren't many that are as good as Worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. They kind of popped off in World for sure.
Yeah.
Um but yeah. And I mean I guess what do you want to move on to next? I guess let's talk about the story. Let's do the story. Um I think the story is pretty bad. Like I'd give that campaign like a 6 out of 10. Like I really was not invested in that story very much at all. Like sure, I get I'm in a party with 2 other friends and we're taking the piss and we're mocking all the fucking characters as you do. Um but I also think that comes from just not caring, and not caring from the start as well is why you kind of act like that a little bit. We kind of just wanted to get to the next monster and kill it. Um but yeah, not only was the dialogue just not fantastic and a little cheesy, and the characters, aside from Gemma's queen, everyone else pretty forgetful. Um, and yeah, I don't know, just from like an actual dialogue story perspective, I didn't really like it. I didn't even really like the whole like twist either that much. I thought it was okay. Um, with the whole, Arkveld was just like this thing that shouldn't have
Hello,
been.
like creating monsters. Yeah.
Yeah, but it should have been passive, but it wasn't, and then it just started eating others. And the wyvern milk. Why'd you call it wyvern milk?
Such
Like
a good question.
it could have been called so like something so much cooler than just wyvern milk. Um, but yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about like when you think about like the interactions you had with everyone, the cutscenes, and just the general direction of the story? Was it as forgetful for you as it was for me?
I mean, so I don't know. I'm not as like critical as it of it as you are. I mean, I think it's a losing battle. For me, I just the biggest problem it has is the way it was structured, and that's gonna blend into the conversation here.
Oh
But
yeah,
like
I was going to
the
move on to
structure
that.
here was
Yeah,
just so wank. It was just so
it's
wank. And
so
like
disjointed.
it,
Yeah.
it it made me so uninvested because like I just wanted to play and it like a bit frustrated at times. Like I just wanted to play. So like you could have wrote the best story in the world and I would have just been joking about how fun, like people's funny names, like the whole time. Like I would not, I am not listening to this dialogue. I'm talking and I'm reading the occasional thing in the subtitles. So really, it was a losing battle from the start. And I do think if somebody played this solo and they were new to the series, that'd have been great. It'd have introduced them to the world. It would have got them going on some of like the tensions in the lore a little bit. Introduced something kind of cool in terms of like the making monsters, which is new to the series and the Guardians the Guardian monsters. I think that'd have been pretty good. That'd have been enough reason to keep someone from going from mission to mission to find out what the next thing is. Um, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. I know most of the stuff about the lore. Some of it was kind of cool. Yeah, whatever. It was just a losing battle from day one for me.
Mhm.
Having said that, I do think a lot of the characters were quite likable, which is great. I think like the handler in World was annoying as hell.
The handler is
Um,
better in this game. I'll give you that.
the handler is better in this game. I think the cast of characters is a lot more memorable. Like I kept joking earlier on that Gemma kept coming to the fights with us because she's a blacksmith. And
Yeah.
she's a bit distracting, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Neurons do be activated and monkey brain. Um, But actually, I came to quite like that because what you always have Gemma as your blacksmith. Like the blacksmith is now not some generic NPC. It's Gemma.
Hmm. That's true.
It's Gemma. She's with you. And you got to know about Werner, who's a bit of a weirdo. A bit. I don't want to be too.
I did not
Hang
give a
on.
shit
I
about
need some control
Werner.
for this. No, he freaks me out a bit, but I think he's written to be on the spectrum. So like, I retract my comment about being a bit of a weirdo. He's just like he clearly. I think that's how he's been written. But anyway,
Okay.
I think that was kind of on purpose. That he's like a bit of a loner. He says the occasional weird thing, and I was like, okay, Werner. And then who's the other guy? Eric was a bit of a dork. I don't know. The fact that I can't
I
even remember these
hated
names is
Eric.
yeah. I mean, but I know I remember these names. You know, Alma. I mean, the biggest sin, really, Fabius, the fucking big boy. He's had a bit of a closing moment at the end there.
What about
The
Nata?
biggest sin, really, is that we didn't learn more about Athos, the fucking Witcher cat.
Oh yeah, he was baller. He was the best character. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he never
Although he
spoke.
said nothing, which just goes to
Yeah.
show the character that didn't say anything was the character I liked the most. He was such a baller, dude. I loved him so much.
So I guess I do like that they made the characters have like a thing. Like you knew who they were, how much you like them, or how well written they are, whatever. Like as I say, I was never really there for that. Yes, it was fine. I think it was cool that we got to learn a little bit more about the lore. Yeah, I'd probably give it like a 6, but I just wasn't listening. I didn't care. I
Mm.
really didn't care. I was just trying to think of the next way to make fun of the silly person on the screen. Like I was
Yeah.
not paying attention.
And we did have some funny
Although
moments.
yeah, and although Nata, who was kind of like the main character, I warmed on him a little bit because of the very very final quest in the game, which I don't think you've done yet.
No. Okay.
I mean, it doesn't redeem the character. Like, I still find the character a little bit annoying. Like, in your words, oh, he's just like me. He's just like me. He escaped. He's just trying
Yeah.
to live. Like, this unending sympathy for the Arkveld, which is like, oh my god, come on, I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah, we all know it
Um,
just comes down to killing. It always does. We're a
yeah,
hunter.
yeah. But I mean, it had some pretty cool moments. A lot of the animation in the cutscenes was very cool. So there was that. We got a lot of on-screen action, which was pretty nice. But yeah, as I say, my biggest problem really, I wouldn't have had a problem if they told that story in the traditional Monster Hunter format, with like do quest, 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 urgent quest, 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 urgent quest. That'd have been absolutely fine. I would have had
Yeah.
no problem, and I would have felt no friction. But the way that it just kind of like shoehorned you into the next quest without really explaining that you don't really get urgent quests, like because we were confused for half the story of like how does this
Mm,
work? Do we just keep doing it, or like
yeah.
was just so frustrating. It was so silly. It was such a silly thing that they did in World, and I can't believe they made it even sillier here. Um, so as I say, I think this is one of those things that if you were playing the game for the first time, probably even with your friends as well, I think you'd have had a good time with that. It just puts you on rails, and it just is like just do the thing.
Yeah.
But 20 hours of that for a veteran is just like
It was painful. Yeah, it's a little painful.
get me into the game.
I also feel like I could have formed a little bit more of an attachment to the zones and the
Yep.
maps if
Yep.
you spent a bit more time in them. Because I was just like, there were actually some moments where it like cut to like the next cutscene, and then we were just in the snow, and I was like, what happened to the desert? I was literally like,
Yeah.
I was here for like one quest, and now I'm just in the snow. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on here? Yeah, they very. I really felt like they could have just gone with even if it wasn't the standard quest, urgent quest, which I think I agree, completely agree. I think that's the way they should have done it. But just a few quests in each area. Like, what's the harm in that? I
Yeah.
just don't understand. It moved you on too quick.
Yeah.
And there was a part of me where I was like, oh, they're moving us on quick because they want us to get done with the story. It'll be short, and then the game will open up. It's like, no, the story's not short. The story's like the longest one we've had. It's like 20 hours. You're just jumping. It feels like someone just like edited the whole thing and just put it in a random order. It just felt kind of disjointed. And then yeah, like I agree, it would have been better solo, and probably for the main reason of what the fuck is that co-op still when you're doing the main story? Like it's a bit better than World. It's like the same. It's the same as World, but it's just a bit more user friendly, where it pops off an invite um to your friends if you're in an environment link, and then they just join it. But then they still have to leave the quest on their end and accept it and not get hit by the monster, because if they get hit by the monster, then they it stops the join, and you each have to watch the cutscene. And then I get it. Like if you couldn't figure out a way around it, then I guess it's serviceable. But they just did such a poor job at explaining what was going on. Like when they like introduced you to the environment link and put it up on the screen, I still didn't know what it was. Like it took us the longest time to actually figure out what the difference between the link party was and the environment link. Why are they both called links, Capcom?
Yeah, and also you can't, if you're in an environment link, which I think is the thing everybody is going to assume that you
It's
have
the
to do.
yeah.
You can't set up a quest. It doesn't let
No.
you. It's grayed out. So people are going to be getting into each other's world, because that's usually how games work. Capcom, by the way, you invite people into the game so you can see them, and then you
Yeah.
go on missions together. But in this game, you don't. The way the game wants you to play is you get a link party going, so you're just kind of
Yeah.
you're connected, but behind the curtain, and then you set up a quest, so you're not seeing each other, you're in your own instances, and then it pulls you into the same mission, and then once you're done
Yeah.
with the mission, you will disperse again. And that's very atypical. Like games don't usually do it that way. And once you understand that, that works just fine. But it's so confusing that it has this environment link thing going on, and it doesn't explain what it's for. As we now know, it's for expeditions. It's when you want to get people in and you just want to go into the world and just kill, gather, do stuff out in the world
Casino.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, in casino, that's right.
But it just does such a terrible job at explaining that. And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it actually gives you the environment link pop up first and explains you what an environment link is before it does a link party, which is not the one that you want for if you're going through the story. It's just so confusing. I mean, they really just need to put like in like just big bold text, just environment link is for expeditions. This is not story mode. Like literally just put non-story mode. And also name them something different, because link party and environment link are too similar. Like they both don't need to be called link. Like you could literally just call it.
But Tim,
I don't know, something.
you can't call it a lobby, because that's its own thing. You can't call it squad, because that's also its own thing.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, you got squads, you got lobbies, you've got link parties, and you've got environment links. Tell me another game that has four layers of getting into a friend's session. Like, oh my god! Like, even just call it like a session party. Like that works. Like, it's just why use link twice? I literally thought they were the same thing for the longest time. Yeah, it's just so confusing. And this is coming from people that are not new to Monster Hunter.
We're used to Monster Hunter shit. Yeah,
we are used to this JRPG nonsense, the menus upon menus upon menus, and this took us a while to figure out. God knows, like some people they're picking this game up for the first time and want to play it with friends. Oh, God help them. they need every ounce of strength.
We're going to be watching 2-hour-long YouTube tutorials just to figure it out. Like, it's I can't believe how much they fucked this. This should have been, for all the things that they've streamlined in this game, for, in my opinion, the worst. They made this harder.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe it.
Yeah. Agreed. I also feel like the itemization in this game is done worse. Item loadouts, item pouches, stuff like that. I feel like that's worse in this game. I feel like I have to press more buttons, way more buttons, to register like an item loadout than I did in World. Are you the only? Is it just me, or when you go to like do like an item and you want to bring up your item loadout, you press the start button, the middle one, and it just cuts you out of all the menus, and you have to go fucking back in? Because no, you have to press Y on everything now, and then that brings up another drop down menu that you can then select from there, and then choose your item loadout. It's like
oh, you mean like when you're in the tent?
Yeah.
And
like when you're viewing skills on armor in World, you just press the back button, and you could have a look at every single skill. you could use the D-pad to skip over to it and go to it, all that. On this one, you have to go to it, and then you have to press Y, and then you have to go down the drop-down menu and go to skill info, and then you can navigate over to the things. It's just, I'm doing extra things for a system that worked in the previous game. It's really weird to me. Like, I feel like all that's worse, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think there's a lot of stuff that's gone on there. So 'cause it's weird because usually the Monster Hunter games are very thorough in a lot of ways. Like they get everything in. They really do most of the work. And you can see that in the settings. The settings menus are bonkers. You can adjust so
Oh
much,
yeah,
and
which is
you can
good.
do so much in the menus. You can like change your menu fucking order. You can have a favorites like pin, so you can have the favorite things from your settings in your preferred menu. You can change your own radial menus, which you could do in Wilds as well. So they go really to the nth degree with all of that. But in Wilds, I seem to have made it one step harder, and that is worsened, in my opinion, by the fact that everything happens in your tent. I think that's a real bummer. I
I
think
want my room
like
back.
I want my room back. That really sucks because I loved that. Like I actually spent a good amount of hours going around, like incentivized to find animals, although I still am because I could
Mm,
display it in my room. Look at this fucking sick bird I found.
yeah.
That's such a bummer. Like I'm so sad that that feature didn't come back, especially because all the bones for it seemed to be there.
I
So
know,
maybe
like
it'll be tied
Gathering Hub. Remember the Gathering Hub?
together.
And you could just
There
sit
wasn't
down
one
at
in
the
Wild either.
table together.
But
No,
eating,
there wasn't.
eating is my big problem. Is that you
Yeah,
eat in your tent by yourself? Like, where's the
use
kitchen? Let me eat
some loner.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there is a cat. There is a chef cat who
yeah.
has a stall and
Just
ingredients,
does
and
takeout.
he's yeah, he just only does takeouts,
Night
just
shift.
Deliveroo. Like I just don't under. He just delivers to the tent. I just don't understand. There's just I don't know, man. Like I really hope they bring some of that back because I like just going around like a gathering hub and just like
Gathering Hub's coming back in the first title update.
oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. I like that because I like to just be able to just sit down and have a meal next to you and like just
Yeah,
chill in like the pool or something. I remember the sauna
yeah.
and your
Yeah,
clothes
an arm
came off and you
wrestle.
could just chill. Yeah, you could arm wrestle. It's just shit to do while you got 5 minutes while your other friend is in his item box fucking picking out what he wants and it's taking 5 fucking minutes. It just gives you stuff to do and it feels a bit more I don't know, like you're a hunting party. Like I agree. You kind of just fucking everyone's just in their own individual tent, hunched over eating a sandwich. It's weird.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah. I
weird.
don't like that because it's also like it makes. Yeah, it's just like you said, it's another button press, and like I've got mixed feelings on like the different tents, like setting tents up and them just getting destroyed again and again. Like
Yeah, I'm not a big
I
fan of
don't
that.
know, that just feels like needless. Oh, that was so dynamic. Like it's like I don't think
It's
no, and
actually
nobody
just a
wants
pain in
this.
my ass. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
be
When you
real.
pitched dynamicism in Monster Hunter, this isn't what we meant. we,
Yeah.
we didn't.
And
We
it's
didn't
not an
mean this.
incentive. I'm not going to open up my map and be like, oh, that Rompopolo is close to my camp. I better go stop
Oh
it.
no! Stop it! Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I just don't notice that shit and boom, it's gone. And then next time I load into that map, I'm like,
I
oh,
don't
where can
have
I
it.
fast
Yeah.
travel to get to my shit quicker? Oh, never mind. It all got wrecked by some rogue ass fire chicken for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Just
like
had a
so
bad
I
day.
that just feels like needless busy work.
And you spend points to rebuild them. Like
Yeah,
these
yeah.
points. And like these points, if I'm not mistaken, like will come into play later with like master ranks and they came into play with ordering food in previous games and trading for items like the like late game armor spheres. I remember I used to spend quite a lot of guild points to get those instead of farming them. Like I don't want to spend that fucking resource just to have a camp that's going to be wrecked two minutes later by a Congalala. Like I just
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that was, but whatever. Hopefully they don't do it next time. I'm trying to think. So I think I've been thinking about this a lot, because I really think I've really had a lot of mixed feelings, and I think I've decided. I think I've decided I hate the secret.
Oh yeah, it's
I
brain
think
dead, isn't it?
I think I've decided I hate it. For a number of reasons, and I think
And it's
the
sacred, I
seg-
think.
this sacred. Well, and that part of the problem is that I never know how to say it. Secret, sacred, sauerkraut. I don't know. Um, part of the problem is that it replaces the box at the beginning of the game.
Oh yeah.
And I know you kind of had this in Worlds, but at least with Worlds, when you started a quest, you all started at the same point, and then you could TP to another point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I liked that. You all went in, you all went into the box, and you all knew what the items were. Like you had a
And you
shared
could
sense
thief
of
it.
what, and you could thief it, or you could divide it up. Oh, you're playing this, so you better take more of that. You've got that, you take more of that. That was good. That was facilitative to cooperative play. In this, it's like, oh, we've just slipped a potion up your sacred's bum, just to like take it out. And it's like,
Yeah.
so I have to get on my sacred, go into the pouch, take it out, get off my sacred, and then resume the fight. Because usually I forget because it's really alien to usually there's an item box.
I forget that I have mission items so much.
Yeah. I way prefer a box. Don't want to be pulling stuff out my sacred's bum. Annoying as hell. And that's before I get to. I like the design. I think the design of Sacred is the best mount we've had so far. I think that's super cool. And you can customize it. That's really cool as well. The auto run is one of the worst bits of this game for me. I hate it so much. And I've adjusted all the settings to make it like so it's less intrusive, but it still does it. Like and it shouldn't be that burdensome to turn it off. Like I have to so first I like the amount of times I've gone to like a mining spot and my secret just like runs in the other direction. I'm just like, just mine it. And I'm like, okay, so what do I have to do? I have to click down on the D-pad. Oh no, he's still doing it. No, now I have to untarget the monster. Okay, and now you can do it. And now I want to auto run back. So now I've got to right click to target the monster. And now I've got to up on the D-pad again. And it's just like, why am I doing like the Konami code like to stop this happening? It's so infuriating. Like they just need to add an option, all manual, no auto run. Get rid of it. Like I don't want it. And I think it really compounds some of the problem that we had with the maps because they have made sacred specific routes to like speed up the journey to like just get you across the map, and that's a real problem because you don't get to see.
You don't see half the map. Yeah.
You don't see half the map, but you know you're less likely to bump into other monsters. You're less likely to. It really like. I think it really bottlenecks a lot of the emergent systems that are meant to be happening in the game. Like you just come across less of them, and that is further compounded by the fact that the game is too easy, which we're going to come on to in a bit. But so you've just got these like three systems on top of each other, which is like get to the monster super quick, dodge all other monsters, kill monster in 5 minutes, and all of that can sometimes come together, and it can make the hunts feel really just like just
Point
on
A
rails.
To B. Yeah,
in a way that I think at times really comes a bit too close to taking the magic out of a Monster Hunter mission. And then that is especially, I think, a bummer because so much of this game is focused on having these emergent systems and, you know, and with the wildlife and everything, and you just don't get a chance to experience that. And I think the Sacred is the worst offender of all the things I've said there. I think I hate the Sacred. I really do.
Yeah. No. I agree with you. And I've been too scared to bring it up, so I'm glad this is a safe space. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I feel like it just puts everything on rails. It's really brain dead. And yeah, I feel like it completely fights to what they have developed this game to actually be. Like they have literally made this game to be, hey, the map is fucking enormous now. It's really dynamic. There's so much shit going on in it. But you just auto run all these paths that the monsters can never see you and never catch you. And you will just find the monster there. And it's just like you don't get to see any of the dynamic things going on in the map as a result of that. And it just gets to the point where instead of me like wanting to manually ride around, I can't be bothered. I know I can literally just press up on the D-pad and just go straight to the monster. And it like it's like changing my brain chemistry to shortcut the hunt. And I don't like that. Like I really just don't like that. Yeah, no, I
It's like
I
optimizing the fun
completely
out of
agree.
it.
Yeah, which is actually one of the reasons why I said I preferred the dogs from Rise. I feel like they just had more manual input to them. You could literally just run around with them and just
You could Mario
go.
Kart drift.
Yeah, you could Mario Kart drift for that shit. Yeah, exactly. I completely forgot about that. That was
Yeah,
fire actually.
yeah.
Um, and they
It
had a
was so
little attack
stupid. At least,
themselves.
yeah, at least I
Um,
could actually do it myself. Like, that's my biggest problem. And I
yeah.
know there are going to be people who are thinking like, "Oh, you control the buttons you press. You don't have to." But it's just
Oh no, you
like,
don't. That thing
but
controls
it
you.
just lights. It controls you, but also it just lights up the path in a way that Worlds didn't. Like Worlds, you had to find tracks, and I think at times that could be annoying. But I think that was really good for getting you to explore the map, be a hunter, not just a monster killer. You know,
Hmm.
so I think they've really lost out on some part of that game there. Maybe when they introduce Master Rank, they can make that happen again, where oh, these monsters are too powerful, your secret can't sniff them out. You're gonna have to manually find them. And as well, Tim, do you remember in some of the old games or some of the old maps, you would have like very occasionally like run into like some bum ass cave that you've never seen before. It's like this tiny hole in the ground that you're like behind some vines. You'd be like, there's a bunch of fucking
Some fucking Gromolkins
felines in
here.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you'd like find like a pond that you're about to fish in. It's like, I got there. It looks like there's something in there. You dive in the pond and oh my god, it's a shortcut to the other end of the map. All that gone. Because the Sacred just fucking auto runs you through all of it. Like, I just wish if there wasn't auto run at all, imagine how cool it would have been coming across these shortcuts, like
Hmm.
finding them and having to memorize them. That would have been so much more preferable because now I know if I ever get stuck just up on the D-pad, it will take me there in 3 seconds. And I
Yeah.
think that's a real bummer and a shame that takes quite a lot of the mystery out of these big maps. But I think it's fine. I think a lot of the things that they've designed in Wilds is like fighting against is at odds with the Sacred design.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I feel like they actually made the Sacred probably after they made all the maps. And then they were just like, this shit's too large. This shit's a bit confusing, actually. I think we just kind of need to have an option for all of these players to just go straight to the monster if they need to.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was a bit of an afterthought that they needed something like that in. Like maybe they had more of like just like how the dogs were in Rise.
Maybe.
Palamutes, that's what they're called. I've been trying to think of that for so long. Palamutes.
Oh,
Um,
it's nice. I would
yeah,
never have got it, so go you.
yeah. So yeah, but no, I agree, and I wish it was all just manual and like just make it more obvious where to go. Like I would have been happy if they made the scout flies like 10 times more intensive to be like go this way, like really obvious you can follow this path to the monster, but then everything else was just manual and there was no auto
Yeah.
run. I would prefer
Yeah.
that. I would prefer if they just
Yeah.
dialed
Same.
up the take the yellow brick road if you want it, but you don't
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah. And
So yeah.
like I think like yeah, man. Like I just think this is just one of those things where it's gone a step too far. Because I know some of the things that happened in World as well, if I'm remembering correctly, happened in World where if the monster was limping, skulls came up on the radar, right? That
Oh yeah,
happened. That
yeah,
was
that was the
introduced
thing.
in the first
Yeah.
World. Okay. So I was a bit iffy about that. It's kind of helpful, whatever. I could generally look past it. But now with like all of these other systems in place, I'm like, at times I'm like, am I even hunting anymore? Like I'm just watching for the icon to pop up and doing it.
Oh,
Like I'm
remember
not
when you used
watching
to
for limping.
paintball?
Yeah, I'm not watching for limping. I'm not watching for things to fly away. I'm not listening for like roars in the distance. And I think there's like a lot of magic in that Wilds is really missing. Worlds, it was sanded down quite a lot, but Wilds, it's just gone. Like
Hmm.
there's very and I just think that is such a shame because this could have been so special if if these systems weren't in place for Wilds in particular with how the format of the game is made. Um and there was something else there. What was it? It was it's gone.
Oh, I'm so
It's
sorry.
gone.
What
Yeah,
in
some bad
regards to the exploration and the sacred
yeah.
itself?
I think what I was gonna say was that like the compromise I could have seen being good, and I doubt they change it now because it's too
Oh no,
late.
they won't. It is
Would
what
have
it is.
been that it went halfway between Worlds and what this is, in the sense that you get three, you build up the bar to like
Hmm.
find out what the monster is. Once you've got it, now you can auto run. Like, fine, because the Sacred has sniffed it out, and now you can auto run there. At least that would have
Yeah.
then pushed you to like explore some areas, run into some stuff, and that could have just been procedurally generated. There's a thing there. Yes, it would have slowed us down a little bit, but also you might bump into it while you're exploring. I just think there is a
Mm.
hunter part of the formula here, which is missing. Is the most it's ever been missing in the series,
Hmm.
which is crazy because some of the arcadey elements, the arcadey entries like Rise and Generations, for example, they still had it, and even when they didn't have it, it was more coherent with the rest of the game. In that it was like a little bit goofier on purpose, whereas
Yeah.
Wilds feels like it isn't trying to do that, but then it's just like get to the monster in 5 seconds. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm a bit that is probably my biggest gripe with Wilds, and one of the biggest reasons why I think Worlds as
Hmm.
a day one release is better.
Yeah. And it's just it goes back to the gathering as well, like with the mining spots and stuff like that. Because everything is so far away, you never run to anything because it
No,
takes twice as long. So then you get on your Palamute because you're like, fuck me, that's in Kenya, but I do want it, you know, because I'm kind of here, but I'm kind of here to the point where it's too long to run to it. So I'll go in my Sacred because I'm here, and then you go to mine it, and it just doesn't fucking work. The Sacred's trying to run away. The prompt isn't
yeah,
coming up
yeah.
for you to
Oh my
pick it up.
god.
There are sometimes I hit the mining spot, and then my guy just fucking just sits there for like 5 seconds, and I have no button press, and I'm pressing B, and I'm like, why are you not collecting what you just mined, bro? And then
Yeah.
he's like, and then I nudge a little bit closer, and then he goes and picks it up, and I'm just like, this is horrible. What am I supposed to do? Get on my Sacred, run over, get off my Sacred, mine it properly, get back on my Sacred. Then, oh my god, like I don't need this many things going on, and it sounds like a
Yeah.
small thing, but when you do it constantly, it just wears you down. Like these
Yeah.
little things just wear you down for a game that you're theoretically playing and doing a lot of end game on, a lot of grinding on, which is the type of game it is to its core. Again, maybe it's lost a little bit of that, but it just wears you down, and it already is for me. 40 hours in, like I hate it. I want to slice its throat. I
Yeah.
do like the gliding though.
Yeah, you do like the
I
gliding.
do like the gliding. The gliding is fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's the biggest bummer to me because the thing is, I think without that, you would probably then be more incentivized to care about the fact that your camps are being destroyed. Um, but doesn't really matter because my Sacred's going to get me there in sub 40 seconds anyway. So who gives a
Mm.
shit? Yeah, whatever.
Plus,
So
some of the camp spots are just weird, man. Like I've got
yes,
like
they are.
two camp spots a stone's throw away from the spawn that I just spawned in.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? I'm never going to fast travel to those. It's where I just spawned in. So why am I?
Yeah.
Why would I want to camp there? It's so weird.
Yeah. Um, I've got other minor gripes. Like I think the cooking has been downgraded. Like I really liked how they did it in World. They had like the grid, and you could be really specific with what you wanted to get. There felt like there was some knowledge and game skill that came with learning
Mhm.
that. This it's just been like super simplified. It's not awful. Like I can still make choices, and that's good.
Have you
But
figured out how to
it
get the
feels like that's been
ingredients?
watered down.
Yeah, because that's
No,
still a
actually.
mystery to me. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they've
yeah.
swapped that
I think
out.
you
You
trade
can.
for them a lot of the time with
Yeah,
just like the traders that are walking around the villages.
yeah, yeah. That's what I've noticed as
Um,
well. Yeah.
yeah. So other small minor gripes like that aren't really a big deal. And then I guess the big one for me, yeah, is just the difficulty. Yeah, as
Too
a lot of the
easy.
reviews said,
Yeah.
as a veteran hunter, it's too easy. And I would put it, I would say it's about the same as Rise for different reasons. And Rise by far was the easiest in the series,
Mm.
and that was mostly because um there was a system in the game which was just straight fucking busted. You mounted the monster and you could do that repeatedly, like 3 or 4 times a
Oh
run, and
yeah.
you could get that monster to fight other monsters. You could just ram it into a wall. You could get other monsters to come and kick the shit out of this monster, and it was just like it was way too overtuned and too powerful. It was fun and it was arcadey, but it was just like it trivialized most of the fights in the game.
Yeah.
They thankfully don't have that here. Like there's no mechanic which fundamentally is trivializing the monsters. It's just the numbers are too low or our numbers are too high. Everything's dying too quickly. The monsters are designed well. Most of them are hitting me or beating, like especially the higher tier ones are hitting me fair and square. But then, it, you know,
It's dead.
they're not killing me.
Yeah.
I had the beginning armor for like half the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So did
Um,
I.
there's a couple of mechanics, at least for the bow, that I think are a little bit too forgiving. I wouldn't mind if they nerfed them a little bit. I would totally understand. And the main thing is the built-in adept dodge. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. The perfect evade. Yeah.
I don't know if any other classes have that. I don't know. I
Uh,
know a lot of other
is
classes
it the
have
one
like
where
parries and stuff.
you go blue if you dodge it properly?
Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah,
dual blades have it, but I only have it when I'm in my demon mode and my
right,
stamina is constantly draining. So there's
right.
obviously a bit of a skill check to it because you don't want to be spamming dodge while your stamina is constantly draining, otherwise you're constantly out. But
Yeah.
you just have that with like no penalization, and I'm
I
like,
can do it. I do it when
okay,
I'm sidestepping, so I
oh,
have to be
okay,
holding left trigger. But I mean, it's like it's really generous. There are times where I found myself like just waiting for a monster queue, like for an attack, and dodging and still getting it off without being able to like see what the attack is because I've like ended up the wrong way around or whatever.
yeah.
And not only that, it fully replenishes my stamina when I get it off as well.
Oh,
So
what?
yeah, so like I know people who are good with the bow are going to make builds without any stamina management or any stamina gems because they'll just be perfect dodging
Perfect
everything.
dodging. Yeah,
And the window is too big. To be honest, I think it's too big. It's the sort of thing which would be good for newcomers, but for someone like me, like there are moves that I can, as long as it's telegraphed at all, I can usually dodge it. Unless I'm like new to the monster and don't know an attack is coming. Um,
damn.
I
Mm,
wouldn't mind if they shortened that window a little bit.
easy
So,
mode.
but that's all tunable. That that's fine. Whatever they may or may not nerf it. A bow already got a nerf, which I think is fine. As I said earlier, I think it's a great. I'm so happy with a lot of the changes of the weapon. It feels really wonderful. But I suspect a lot of other weapons, like if that's what the bow's like, I suppose a lot of other. I suspect a lot of other weapons of the game have similarly forgiving mechanics in terms of maybe parry windows or like
Mm,
offset attacks. Like I know that's kind of a bit of a counter, isn't it? Like I don't know because I haven't used a lot of them, but I suspect that probably is a bit systemic in the game.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like they've added all these things, and even to an extent the wounds as well. I think the wound system is good, but I do think
Too many flinches.
sometimes you can just unlock a monster for 2 minutes straight and 100 to 0 it. Remember we killed that Blagonga in like under a minute. Can you remember how disgusting that was?
Yes, I remember.
Um, because we just chained together the environment things and then the wound and then the environment thing. We killed it in like a minute flat. It was disgusting. It's gross. Yeah, there's too many things here which, albeit make you feel cool and it's fun in the moment, but then you're like, oh, it just made the hunt really easy. It just trivialized everything. A little bit too much. I mean, let's put it this way: the first time I carted in this game, carted just one life lost was a 6-star high rank tempered Gravios in the arena.
Yeah.
End game, like almost end game, like peak end game. Like maybe like obviously I think there's like I think it might go up to like 8 stars or something like that for the end game. That's the first time I even just carted, and it also was the first time we found a quest in general. But like that far in, I'm sorry, I never fainted for like 28 hours. I
Mhm.
I mean that's absurd. And I'm using a
Yeah.
completely new weapon. I've never touched the dual blades in my entire fucking Monster Hunter career, from Monster Hunter Freedom 2 on the PSP to now. So I'm completely in new territory, and I don't die for the first 30 hours of the game until I hit
Yeah.
peak end
Yeah.
game. Little
Mhm.
bit pretty easy, too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit
And I
disappointing.
think I think some of the problem does come with the wound system and the focus hits, and because as great as they are, I think it's a wonderful idea. It perfectly fits the Monster Hunter kind of aesthetic and the feel and everything. But I think the biggest problem, other than it just dealing a lot of damage, because that's easily adjustable, is that it causes too many flinches, and
So it's
I
Flinch
don't know
City, bro.
how. It's flinch, yeah, and I don't know how they get themselves out of that because they need to make monsters flinch so that you can get the flashy attack off. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they need to be locked to doing it. So like maybe, like, and I don't
Mm.
know if like just making monsters have bigger health pools will fix that. Like, okay, so instead of flinch locking them for 3 minutes, you'll be flinch locking them for 7 minutes. Um, I think maybe they need to dial down the amount of wounds that come up. So maybe whatever they do next, like you need to be
I
creating
don't
less wounds.
I don't have an issue with just it not flinching the monster automatically. Like have the wounds last longer, and maybe obviously you can't exploit the straight up damage buff you get at the 1.5x. Have the wounds last longer, but then to get your flashy attack, you have to think about when to do it. You have to think, oh, okay, it's just done like a tail whip, and I know that it's gonna like be a 1 to 2 second gap before it resets or move into another move. Now is when I go left trigger, right bumper, and I get it. Like, and it shouldn't flinch it, and then you get it off, and at the end of the move, maybe you get a flinch or something like that. But yeah, time it. Think about it. Read the monster and think, I have my 2 second window to attach to this wound and do my focus attack. I don't see an issue with that. And then obviously because you're doing that, just increase how long the wounds stay on the monster.
I think the biggest problem is more animation related. Like, how are you attaching to something that's spinning around? Like, are the animations set up for that or something, like a Rathian doing a backflip, like, did that even work? Like, I don't know. I think it's done on purpose so that you can get the full animation off,
Mm.
if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe. But you say that, but then my dual swords one's pretty jank, dude. Like half the time, if I like attach to something, like you said, like a Rathian doing like a backflip or something, my move kind of cuts off early, and I kind of just clip through the monster a little bit and go to the floor. I
Mm,
don't do my full
right.
twirl going all the way through the monster. So it's definitely not perfect,
Yeah.
even as it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I guess that's like the crux of it. I think like the two main issues for me is that like the monsters are well designed and all. It's just like they're not hitting hard enough. They don't have enough health, and focus strikes seem a bit too busted right now. So I think
Yeah.
they need to work those three things for whatever because they've said in the first title update we're getting the Mitsuzune and monsters of a higher tier. I don't know what that means, but they need.
I think it
I
just said
think
a monster or like a quest. I don't think they're doing multiple monsters.
no, you might be right. It might just be the Mitsuzune that's coming in at whatever this new rank
Yeah,
is above
I
tempered.
think that's what it is. Yeah.
So but you know what? It's a bit of a wait and see. And this is, I guess, that kind of, for me, that kind of brings like the whole thing to a bit of a conclusion, which is
Yeah.
like, I think this right now for me on the pantheon of Monster Hunters, this is sitting somewhere on like the B plus A minus. What if Worlds was like S minus? And then you've probably got stuff like, maybe 4U, which I know a lot of people love. It's probably S tier as well. Freedom Unite for me is probably
Yeah.
S
For
tier.
you is really good.
Um,
Yeah.
Rise for me was probably around this as well. Maybe sort of B plus, A minus. Um, I think this has the potential to be one of the best. I think it could move up into the S tier. And it's still great. As I said to nuance this from the very beginning, it's still a wonderful game. Um, but there's just a few too many things that pull this away from the stuff that I love about Monster Hunter, warts and all. Um,
Yeah.
that takes the hunter bit out of it. Like it just at times just feels like monster killer. And I don't like that.
Yeah. No, yeah, yeah. I think I mean, as I thought, I think we have very similar opinions. You know, we grew up playing the same game. We like it for the same reasons. I think a lot of our values line up for that in a Monster Hunter game. So yeah, I agree. I don't think I'd put it quite like B plus or something like that. You know, if I feel like World was probably like a solid S. I feel like this is like an A. Like, this is an A tier for me. Like it's very very good, and I think with a really good expansion, which is saying a lot because Iceborne was basically World 2, so they've got some pretty big shoes to fill to bump it up in that regard. But a good expansion, some good title updates, like added monsters, elder dragons, new difficulty. little things like the gathering hub coming back. Maybe they make like food and canteens again, like it helps. Maybe some adjustments to the sacred, along the way. Um, but then again, I said this to you as well. Like, I just don't think everyone online, and like I see people playing it, stuff like that, they're just like, oh yeah, but the game, Monster Hunter games only always get difficult like in the expansion, a year later. And I'm just like, I feel like that's a cop out. Like, I don't feel like
It is a cop out.
my game shouldn't be at its best or where it should have been at launch when I have to give them more money 1 year later. Like, that's not okay, and I don't get why
No.
people are just quite happy with this sentiment of just like, yeah, but just wait for the expansion. The expansion has master rank in it. It didn't in the
Yeah.
older games. Master rank was there. You fucking beat everything, and then you were like, oh shit, what's this? Oh yeah, it's a silver Rathalos, and it killed me 30 times. Like,
Yeah, but and that's the thing. Like, also, like we had high rank elder dragons in world, and they are elder dragons are notorious for being hard, and we don't have that this time.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's yeah, it's just I just don't think that's okay. Like, I shouldn't have to wait 1 year and give them another £40 for me to have my elder dragons and for me to have my master
no,
rank and stuff like that.
no.
They really like. I think they're sitting a little bit too cushy on their throne right now. Off world. I think they need to
And rise.
actually, and rise as well. Yeah, I feel like they actually need to make the base game more substantial and cater to everyone. Cater to your hardcore as well as your new people. Because at this point, with the peaks this game has reached, you're not really going to be getting many more new people from this point on. You've kind of peaked. There's only a certain amount of people on the planet, so it's about as big as it's ever going to get. So let's start catering to your hardcore players now. Yeah.
I'm with you. And I honestly, I don't think it would have taken much for them to have dialed this in the end game, or like just make tempered monsters harder. Like, they should have just cranked up the stats on tempered monsters, and I think the hardcore would have probably been a bit happier with that. But yeah, that's one Hunter, I guess. There we go. It was only
Hour and
what's that?
40
Only an
minutes.
hour and 40 minutes. Not bad, not bad.
God's sake. You can tell we're
uh,
passionate about it, so
yeah,
that's saying
yeah. And I could
something.
have kept going. It's easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I suppose the final. Yeah, so what something I was thinking about is just like a final thing, not necessarily thinking about Monster Hunter Wilds, but just the series in general. Even though we have all these criticisms, there aren't actually that many other co-op games that have persisted with me into my adulthood. A lot of them I've kind of either gone a bit lukewarm on, or just don't find they have the same hook that they used to. And the two of those examples are Borderlands and Diablo. Those
Yeah.
are cooperative games that I loved when I was younger, but they don't have the same hook that they used to.
No.
Like, by all means, Diablo 4 should be something I'm really into, but I just find myself getting a bit bored. And I'm not really feeling that here. I'm like 50 hours in. I'm sure I'm going to taper off, but like, I can tell the highs that this is hitting are substantial. And I think that just
Mm.
speaks to the overall formula of the game,
Yeah.
which is why I still find myself coming back to it. It's one of the few that I think I'm always going to be excited to play, regardless of the entry. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's still good enough to always sink its claws in. We're being critical on it because we love it. And yeah, we're like 40, 50 hours in and still playing it. You know, every evening and weekends and stuff like that for long periods of time. So um, it's just yeah, it's just it can be improved in some areas, but by no means is
definitely,
it bad. Yeah.
definitely. Okay. What I propose we do then is we just maybe pluck. I'm not going to talk about Avowed today; it's too late. I propose we just maybe pluck one story, maybe two, probably just the one because it's coming up to 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Um, to wind the show down. Uh, I reckon it's probably Fable. Is there anything else I've got on the notes that you would prefer to talk about? Gears of
Uh,
War, Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
no, not really. I mean, the Gears of War thing is interesting, in its own right. I guess we could touch
Mm.
on it quickly. That obviously it's one of the it's one of the pillars, isn't it? It's a pillar.
Another one of the pillars. Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean another one of the pillars?
Well, with Forza Horizon, that's launching
Oh
in
yeah, yeah. I forgot about Forza.
a
Yeah,
couple
I
of
forgot about
weeks.
Forza Horizon. Yeah. So yeah, it's just yeah. I mean that's really all I have to say on it, really. But it's just another pillar
Mm.
going over, right? And I don't have an issue with a Gears collection coming out. I feel like some of them could use a little bit of boost in textures and frame rate and stuff. And I think all the campaigns will actually pretty hold up quite nicely. And I think if it comes with the announcement of a Gears 6 coming soon, I think I would quite like to pick this up, play through everything again and get caught up. And experience 5 again in its hopefully best way to play it.
I don't know if we ever get a Gears 6, dude. I don't know if we ever get that.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because the new one's a prequel, isn't it? Yeah. You
Yeah.
you don't think they're gonna expand and finish off that story?
I
I'm struggling to
mean,
figure out how
maybe
5 even ended now.
5 ended with you choosing to kill Dell or JD.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I do remember. Yeah. Okay.
Which was wacky because like where do you go from there? Like it was cool in the moment, but like God, like I don't envy being in their position for for the writing department.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I reckon that they're doing Gears E Day to see if they can get away with some other stuff. Like I know it's a new director um doing it now. Um versus Rod Ferguson, who's now leading the Diablo team. He did a lot of the new trilogy for Gears. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they do go back to it and try and finish the trilogy off. But if it's a new director, like it's a new team, like I bet they just
Probably
want
not.
to. Oh yeah, I don't know. Or maybe there's something that they sneak into Gears E Day, which they can then use as a thread to come up in Gears 6, but isn't necessarily a trilogy ender. It's just like, oh,
Hmm.
here's a new trilogy. Like I don't know. We'll
And
see.
they have been known to go off in their own tangents, haven't they? Like they did Gears of War Judgment, where you played as like Baird and a little backstory for Baird. They
Yeah,
did Gears Tactics, stuff like that. So they could definitely take the
for
franchise down
sure.
a different route, give it a different game. Like I could see like a Dark Tide s game for like Gears, like a bit of a horde shooter or something like that could work.
Loads of potential with Gears.
Um, yeah. So
It's that same thing that we always speak about with Halo. Like I think both of these universes are so ripe for spin-offs and different things. I mean, I hope. Yeah, I know Gears E Day as a prequel isn't exactly like a spin-off or whatever, but it's at least slightly different direction. So we'll see. We'll see what they come up with, especially in terms of mechanics, because I think Gears is begging for a bit of a mechanical revamp, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, a bit samey.
Some
Yeah.
new yeah, some new core mechanics, I think, is something that franchise really needs.
Mhm.
But yeah, launching on PS5, no PvP, will feature co-op, which indicates to me that Gears E Day probably will have PvP.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and I don't think that's a big deal. I saw some people freaking out that it doesn't have PvP, and therefore why would they buy it? And I'm like,
But then we were never big fans of the PvP anyway. I know there's a pretty hardcore Gears PvP fan base, and I think a lot of
I
people would
know.
love to go back to like Gears 3, like PvP
Yeah,
again. Uh
they'd love to do what they did for the other fucking 6 games and slide around with a Nasher. That'd
yeah,
be sick.
exactly. Yeah. Or Gears 3
With
actually had the sawn off as well, which was very noob friendly. I love the sawn off.
hell yeah.
When they were
Oh,
fucking just wiggle bouncing to me, I just stuffed it down their throat around a corner.
and you get
Um,
screamed at and shout or get a fucking KYS message.
yeah.
Yeah.
Team Pulse.
But I think, man, I think it's going to do really well. I think Gears is going to work great on a dual sense too. Like, I think it'll perform well. Like, Xbox is really supporting PlayStation so well this year. Indiana
Yeah.
Jones, Forza Horizon 5. Yeah, and I don't know if you saw Forza Horizon 5 was like the top wish list, or it was in like the top 5.
Yeah, I
No, it
did.
wasn't. I think it was the number one pre-ordered game on PlayStation coming up, which is like,
It's crazy.
you know,
Well,
it's,
there are
it's
OG.
really
There are a lot of racing boys on PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation used to be the home of like racing games and stuff like that, didn't it? Before, with like the Gran
yeah,
Turismo's going back, I think that was like the platform to play racing games before Forza kind of took over a little bit. So
definitely.
I think there's definitely a pretty large audience there that will
There'll
eat
be
it
an
up.
appetite there.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that will be money that Xbox will be very grateful to have, I'm sure.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else about that? Anything else
No,
about
no, no, no. That's
possible
about
gears
it. Yeah,
traction?
I just kind of wanted to just touch on it briefly. Yeah.
I suppose it is. It's another nice surprise. Like, when we're talking about the amount of content Xbox has coming out this year. Like if this Oblivion remake is still happening, we just got
Mm.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yeah, just like
Activision. So first.
little things to go with like the main course,
Yeah.
little side dishes. A
Yeah.
little bit of
Aperitif.
calamari, a little bit of
A lot of olive bread, focaccia.
yeah, some potato skins, cheese and bacon.
Mm,
Oh
very
fuck,
good.
I'm making myself hungry.
Very good. Yeah. So just dropping a Gears trilogy mid-year out of nowhere. It's just, it goes to show how much stuff they're working on. Obviously, we just got the developer direct, didn't we? And then Ninja Gaiden, and then Ninja Gaiden Black. So, like, man, like it
It's
can't
a
really be
lot.
argued
Yeah,
the stuff that's been pumped out at the moment. And I've
yeah,
seen people posting the the Game Pass coming soon bit on the Game Pass app, and like all of the games coming out, like it's just mental. Tony
yeah.
Hawk's Pro Skater, Expedition 33, South of Midnight. Obviously, we just had Avowed. Doom is on there as well. Like, it's just
Yeah, I
insane.
was literally just talking to Tilly about that like last night. I was just like watching TV. I was like 10:30, and I was like, fucking hell. I was like, April, South of Midnight, and Expedition 33 are out. And I was like, I'm like knee deep in Monster Hunter right now. And like, Expedition
And Avowed.
33 is like, I'm very excited for that game.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and
You're
about,
never
yeah.
finishing Avowed, dude.
Yeah, I'm never
It's just
finishing
not
that.
gonna
Yeah,
happen.
it's just not happening. Yeah, I even almost bought Unicorn Overlord the other day as well. I'm never going
Yeah.
back.
That poor Avowed.
Might as well say goodbye to Aura. But yeah, there's just a lot. Yeah, and then there was something at the is it Doom late May, like
June,
just before
mate.
my birthday or like just after our
Yes.
birthday. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Like that's so crazy to me. That there's that much on its way that I'm genuinely
Yeah,
buzzed for. Um,
absolutely.
and so much to play currently. Like
Mm.
spoiled, really spoiled so far in
Yeah,
2025.
I'm drowning. I've got so many good games to play. And that's ignoring the fact that we've been like going in and out of Valorant, as well, which again is
And I
on
do
Game
kind of
Pass.
want to play the new agent. That's kind of cool.
Just feasting, and
Yeah,
as well, like Split Fiction just it came out today. Big congrats to Hazel, like
done
another
really
Game
well,
of the
isn't
Year
it?
contender.
Yeah. What
Yeah, it's
what did it?
91 on Metacritic.
91. Okay, yeah. I was literally about to ask. I know it's coming out really really hot, but
Man,
yeah, wow, that's
insane. I've got
incredible.
so much respect. I've got so much respect for that team making games like that, and I'm really surprised we didn't see more copycats after It Takes Two.
Mm,
But it's just to take that genre and just run with it. Um, just so impressive. Because I was quite critical. I was quite harsh on It Takes Two winning Game of the Year at the Keeleys, a couple of years back. But actually, I think on reflection, like I said at the time, I'm glad this sort of game gets recognition. But I think actually, nah, like I'm good. You guys earned it. Like,
yeah, it's
just
a good
super
game.
cool to see. Um, just really randomly, I don't know why. I just wanted to check like how Avowed was doing on the Xbox most played list. Because like we had some like speculative data that it had sold 5.9 million. Um,
It's more than
which
I
would have
thought.
been really good.
Yeah.
Um, versus Indiana Jones's 1.9 million, supposedly. I like the data is really like conjecture and speculative, so take it with a pinch of salt. Like I feel like we would have seen official numbers by now if they were that good, but having said that, looking at the most played games on Xbox right now, Monster Hunter Wilds is sitting at number 11. You got Apex Legends at 10, Marvel Rivals at 7, Avowed is 13.
Hmm. Up there with the big dogs.
Still,
Yeah.
it's been like given it's like 3 weeks old now. Monster Hunter Wilds has just come out. I think, and I did say that in my predictions for the year. I did say I reckon Avowed will actually perform quite well, at least in terms of players. I think it will do quite well actually.
Mm.
Um, so we'll
Yeah,
see. I
yeah,
just wanted to throw that.
I said that as well. Yeah, I said that it would actually do pretty well on Xbox and PC as well. Even if reviews didn't
Yeah,
say so, I think that and like the general audience reviews are mixed. I said that people will still want to scratch that Skyrim itch a little bit, even if they're a bit salty about it, and they'll get it, they'll play it. So
yeah. I
that was
mean,
my
I
thingy.
yeah, I do want to have a chat about Val, but I'm not going to do it today. Because
Yeah.
I'm in like the final area of the game, and I'm looking again. It seems to have settled on an 81 on Open Critic. On Steam, it's mostly positive at 77%. But the kind of feel around this game is really like weird. Like I was even
Mm,
speaking to my brother-in-law, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, I was watching videos about it, and everyone hates it." And I'm like, "This is
yeah.
so fucking weird. Like this
Yeah.
industry is so fucked. The
If you go on
dialogue around
YouTube
every game,
and just like search Avowed review, every single
yeah,
one is I'm disappointed. It's not as good as I thought. You know,
it
just
wasn't killed. It was
undercooked.
murdered."
Yeah, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Like there's so much of that. Everything is negative, and I don't know
it's
why. I feel like it's probably the
crazy.
least offensive game I've seen in a while. I don't know why it's drawing
Yeah,
so much
it's
hate,
so
but
inoffensive. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's like again, I don't want to get into it, but it just basically the short end of it is like this game already had so many forces moving against it, and like of course it's okay for a lot of reviewers to feel disappointed. I mean, I don't agree with a lot of the criticisms. I'm still thinking where I like coming into probably the final 10 hours of the game, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It's great. It's not going to blow your mind. It's not going to win any Game of the Year awards. I think it'll probably get some nominations in some categories. And there was one review that really, I think, like sort of captured how I felt about Avowed, and it was like, Avowed doesn't do any one thing excellently. It does everything better than most games. And I think
mm,
that is exactly how I feel about Avowed. It does, especially in this genre, it does everything just a little bit better than most games do. But it doesn't do any one thing like phenomenally, and
yeah,
that's okay. That's okay. That's just like the state of video for to play something like this that feels kind of like refreshing and a bit niche in its genre. The first person fantasy RPG, and just have that in Game Pass. That is a treat. And I don't know why that has to be some fucking crazy outburst of rage. It's
yeah. I
I've
agree.
I've honestly I've just stayed away from reviews. This is probably the biggest most I've stayed away from like any content around a game because I knew. I mean, I could have told you 3 years ago that this is how it was going to turn out, but
Yeah.
I just like stay away from it. It's not going to make me feel good.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, final thing, Tim. Let's talk about Fable. Um, it's been kind of a bit of an open secret, hasn't it, for a while now that Fable was going to be delayed. We kept hearing people talk about it, and we had said in our predictions for the year, you had said Fable's going to get delayed, and I said Fable's not going to get delayed unless GTA gets confirmed for this year, then it will be delayed. And do you know what happened? GTA got confirmed about a month ago, and then Fable got delayed. And then
So I'm
in the
right.
invest, we're both right, and that's the best kind of right.
I'm right.
We're both right, and that is just the best kind of right, isn't it?
Yours
Being
was a
right
cop
together.
out, right? Though
No, it wasn't.
yours had a condition to it.
Yeah, yeah,
You
the
did. You,
condition to it.
you
Yeah.
just you just dipped your feet in the water. You didn't dive straight in.
No, but come on, that is pretty like telling, isn't it? That Take Two had an investor call, and they were like, "No, no, 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 we're releasing this year." And then like a month later, Playground were like, "Oh, by the way, yeah, we're going to delay."
Yeah.
And that's why.
No, I mean
So,
that is the reason. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, but yeah, not surprising to be honest.
and
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's that bothered.
no, yeah, exactly. I don't think we've seen enough of the game anyway to be like, oh man, I really wanted that in 2025. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, the game kind of existed in my dreams anyway, and now I just have to wait a little bit longer. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah, exactly.
Plus,
And there's so
controversial
much.
opinion, I think it looks kind of mid. I think it looks
Yeah,
like,
you weren't impressed with the little gameplay snippet, were you?
no, looks like we're just trying to do what they did with God of War with Fable, with
But
maybe a
it's
little
it's
bit of humor
Fable, man.
sprinkled in there. Looks the same. The combat just looks grounded. It looks kind of slow. Um,
Man,
I don't know.
I, d- I don't agree because I know we've seen the different clips before. I know there's wacky stuff happening, like catching arrows and throwing it back, and popping people up and floating in the sky. I know there's like, and I know I've said this before, and it's a really weird thing, but it really helps it stand apart in its identity to me. And that they throw the fireball. I don't know, something about that just really
What, instead of
vibes with me.
casting it?
Yeah, they don't cast it. It's not like a palm, like a straight arm palm cast. She fucking lobs it like a cricket ball or a baseball. If you're from America,
Nice.
thank
We
you.
should have ended the podcast. Jeez. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Whatever.
there are some flavors.
Do you think they just showed you a clip that wasn't quite wetting your whistle, or are you now worried? Oh no, the game's gonna be bad.
No,
I'm
no, no.
worried.
I think the game will be good, and I think it'll be fine. I just don't think it was what I kind of wanted it to be. I guess I just don't think it was how I pictured the Fable game would look. It just kind of looked a bit like a generic third person action game, like we see quite a lot of. Like we have kind of say that Sony do a lot of the same. It looks like their own spin on Horizon or a
It
God of
is. I
War
mean,
or something like that.
This is their
Yeah,
hyper budget third person action adventure game. So I think
yeah,
if you are like fatigued of that genre, I think you're well in your rights to think. "Eh."
mm, yeah. But yeah, I
And
mean, I think it
same.
looks good.
I would be the same, but I know it's Fable and I know it's Playground making it, and I've seen the previous trailers, which shows me this is going to be really interesting and unique. Um, that's like kind of my vibe. If none of that was there and we just got this gameplay snippet, I would be thinking the same. I'd be like, this looks very pretty, but I'm not really sure what else I'm meant to be impressed by here.
Mm,
So we'll just have to see how it all comes together. But like it's the hyper budget, super hyper realistic, pretty colorful game, no doubt.
yeah, yeah,
That's not that important to me, to be honest. I know it's important to a lot of other people, but like I rather it's I want it to be a good Fable game, like the stuff that makes all the Fable
yeah.
games impressive. And as I've like repeatedly said, I really hope what they're doing and they're cooking here is Peter Molyneux's original vision that he continuously lied about with the original Fable games, where he said like, oh yeah, you can hit a tree and an acorn will fall off the tree and then that acorn will grow in the world, but as you play throughout the story. I just think with Forza Tech and the seasons shifting and stuff like that, they could actually make shit like that work. They could
Mm,
really pull off something special here. If this ends up just being like an open zone, get your side missions, level up, oh no, make the bad or good decision.
kick the
Haha,
chicken.
funny, kick the chicken, haha, funny insert funny British quirk here. That would kind of suck. Like, I hope it's doing something unique
I
that
weirdly have
really
a bad
allows.
feeling it's going to be that though. But
I mean, we'll have to see.
I'll remain positive. But yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, that would still be cool, but it wouldn't be like what I was hoping to see out of Fable, which were such unique games at the time with their morality system and how that affects things. Like there's a real treasure that they could get into here. And to be honest, I would say what we've seen so far has been quite indicative that that's going to be the case.
mm,
Really high production values, motion capture, yada yada yada. It's just what I'm waiting to see the systems. That's what I want to see. What are the systems? How does that
mm,
work? Can I
yeah,
can I kill an NPC and grow horns? Can I
build a
fucking
kingdom
plant an acorn?
and
Can I build a
like
kingdom?
get like a following of people. I want to make a gang, bro. Let me make a gang.
Gang,
I want a
gang,
gang that kicks chickens
Fable gang,
and only chickens.
gang. Yeah. So that's the I don't want to say make or break, but that's the thing that's going to separate this from being like fun, great to like holy shit, this could be super excellent. So
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed, agreed.
All right. Well, that's everything, I guess.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
so.
this as I say, we've been away for a few weeks and it's kind of late here now, so and I don't want to get bogged down in it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, if anything stands out, we can always cover it next week if it's a relatively light news week.
Yeah.
But we ended up talking about a okay amount of stuff anyway, just in passing, as we brought up other stuff, not super in depth, but yeah.
And we should have Caden back next week, so that would be good too.
Oh yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice. All right.
Cool.
I guess we'll bid you adieu. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening to our hour and 40-minute Monster Hunter episode.
That's crazy.
Sure, that didn't bore you to death.
Yeah, that's crazy that we literally talked about that. It's probably our lowest listen count podcast for a while.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like, the Venn diagram of Xbox fans and Monster Hunter fans is virtually just two separate circles. Like, there's no overlap there, really.
No.
It's just us. Like, the overlap is 2 pixels and it's us.
Yeah, like, legit. Oh, man. But I could have gone on longer. Yeah.
I know, that's the worst part, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, bro.
Yeah, it's been fun. Bye, everyone.
It's been fun. Catch you later.